Welcome to this week's episode of The Savvy Author. I'm your host and literary consultant, Clara Rose. If this is your first time with us, welcome. Each week we show up and share tips and tricks and tools, interviews, things that you need to know to be a savvy author. And of course, if you've been here before, welcome back, my friend. If you were here last week, you saw that we had a special guest and we had a video clip. The video clip came from the book signing and the launch of my newest author, Teresa Todd, with her book, Without Fear of Her Future, A Women's Guide to Real Estate Investing. And it was so exciting to be in Dallas for that event. And we have a video clip from it. Last week we showed it. If you missed it, go back and watch that rerun, my friend, because it was exciting. And then, of course, Teresa was on the show as we celebrated this win, this victory for her, this milestone in her business. This was a brand awareness book for her, bringing more awareness to her brand. And, of course, her course, Without Fear of Your Future, which teaches women how to invest in real estate. Anyway, if you missed it, I suggest you go back and watch it. We were here really just to celebrate because she did something that not everyone does, and that's that she hit a bestseller list. Not only a bestseller list, but a best new release list, which was super exciting and fun. It is something that a lot of authors actually strive for, but it isn't something that everybody can achieve, and there's a few reasons for it. And last week's episode and the video clip really sparked a lot of conversation on social media and a lot of people reaching out with questions about, okay, how do I attain that? How do I get that? I want that for my book when it comes out. Or I launched a book, it didn't really do very well. Is there anything I can do about it? Those kinds of questions. So I thought it made good sense for today to talk a little bit about, as you get ready to publish your book, or someone's publishing your book for you, or you've already published your book and it kind of fizzled, it didn't do what you wanted it to do. Let's talk about some things that you can do to prepare or about that. All right, let's jump in. I like to call it Catapult. Not just launching your business, but catapulting your business, your book into, not business, book, into being successful. A savvy author is strategic and intentional when planning the launch of their book. Now, if indeed you already launched and it's already out in the world, it's a little bit different approach. Reach out to me. We can definitely talk about ways to relaunch it that makes sense. But today I'm talking specifically about those people and to those people who are getting ready to launch. They haven't launched yet. You're not published yet. What steps can you take to get you to the point where you're making good sales? Because in fact, sales are what we're after, right? If you don't sell your book, there's no brand awareness happening. If you don't sell your book, that extra revenue stream isn't happening. If you don't sell your book, you have crafted your message for the world, but the world is not seeing it. So let's talk a little bit about that today. Okay. Bestseller lists. Everybody wants to hit the bestseller list or the new, number one new release list or other lists that are based on your overall sales in any given time period. When you understand how that they work, it's going to increase your chances of attaining these coveted designations. Really, that's all they are. They're just a designation. It says, in a given period of time, this book was the most popular. And we know that because of the sales, the number of sales that took place during that time. Now, there's a lot of confusion around hitting bestseller or number one new release, so there's the people out there saying, oh, it's an algorithm, there's no way to know, but in fact, that's not true. The truth is it's totally based on being a bestseller, and the operative word, of course, is seller. There is a big difference between a retail list and a curated list. So let's talk about the bestseller lists, differences between a retail list and a curated list. So a retail list is places like Amazon. Amazon is a retailer. So when you put your book on Amazon, whether you've published through them or you've published as a hybrid publisher somewhere else, or you've published with a traditional publishing house, if it hits Amazon and it's for sale on Amazon, Amazon is going to keep track of the sales. So for instance, when Teresa's book hit Amazon, we hit Amazon on Friday. By Sunday morning when we woke up, she was on the bestseller list. That means that on Amazon, in those couple of days, her book was a bestseller. Right? It's strictly a numbers game. More people bought a copy of that book than others. Now, there's no real magic number that you have to hit in order to make the bestseller, because it depends on who else is launching their book at the same time. So if you're competing against 50 other people and some of those other people have topics that are more popular that weekend, they make more sales because they have larger audiences, or for whatever reason, they have better sales numbers, they're going to beat you out. Even if you sold 10,000 copies that weekend or that day, if they sold more, if they sold 20,000, they're getting it, not you. See what I'm saying? There's not a hard and fast rule. If you sell 10,000 copies, you're going to make bestseller. That's just not the way that it works. Let's talk about curated lists. What is a curated list? A curated list is one like the New York Times bestseller list. Right? So here's how lists like that work. At least for the New York Times, there's a team that looks at that. Every weekend, retailers, large and small, from across the country, are going to send in their sales numbers. See how it's related totally to sales once again? They send their sales numbers in on the top books. What sold the best? And then they take all that data, and they compile it together, smush it together, and across the board, what books sold the most, right? And that's literally how you make the list. Now, if your book sold 10,000 copies and nobody else did, or 20,000 copies across the board, then you're going to make the list. If 20 people did better than you, you might not make the list as a bestseller. And that's just the way that it works. The misconception that it has to do with the quality of the book is just not true. It doesn't matter if the book is good or bad, because these people that are curating these lists, polling together data for you, they're not actually reading the book. There's no way that they could read all of those books on a weekend to decide who's going to be on the list posted on Wednesday. It just doesn't happen. So it's based on the sales that they've pulled together. Now, the curated lists have some rules, right? So it can't have all come from one source. So your organization, for instance, or your business or your association can't purchase a huge number of books and then make you hit top seller on the curated list, because it has to come from a variety of sources. They're looking for what sold best overall across the board, which books sold the best. So there's no really any way to cheat the system to get where you want to be. I just say plan well before you publish so that you have your best possible chance. So let's talk about some of those things that you can do so that you could potentially, no guarantees, potentially hit a retail list and the coveted curated list. All right, let's dive into that. Okay, promotion. Promotion matters, my friend. Traditional publishing, self-publishing, and of course hybrid publishing, they actually create the physical book, but a successful launch takes much more than just a printed book. For instance, traditional publishing used to come with a lot of promotion. Nowadays, of course, they come with a moderate amount of promotion. In fact, most traditional publishers won't even take on an author unless they have a nice-sized social media following, because they're counting on the author to do part of the work of promoting. If you're self-publishing, of course, wherever you choose to do that, there's no promoting that comes with that. That you're on your own to figure it out, and best of luck to you. And then, of course, there's hybrid publishing, which comes with some publishing. In fact, we are a hybrid publisher, and we offer some that comes with our publishing packages. When we publish an author, some things come with it. If you want things beyond the basics, we have Catapult, which is a publishing promotion package. So you can purchase more of that exposure from a hybrid publisher typically. Promotion where somebody takes you and puts you on the road and gives you, a book tour, signings all over the country, are kind of a thing of the past unless you happen to be a celebrity. If you're famous, they're happy to help you out and put you on a book tour. If you're not so famous, you're kind of on your own, I'm afraid. They're relying on you to help spread the word about your book. So we're going to focus today on the things that you can do to make a difference for your book. Let's start with the idea that it's all about planning, because planning matters. You want to plan ahead well before the publish date of your book. You want to have a marketing plan in place well in advance. And the first thing that I always tell my authors to work on is their social media posts. So I'm talking about well in advance, putting together posts for your social media following, one, to help grow your social media following to start with, but then to also let them know, hey, I have a book coming out. Here's the topic. I often have my authors get their cover mock-up done, not the full cover, right, front to back full cover, but just the front, and make it look 3D so that you can start using that on your social media post to say, hey, I have a book coming. And I want you to be excited about it. I'm excited about it. So this is an opportunity to create posts that you can put out there with excerpts perhaps from your book. You can also just put out topics. You can put out questions and answers that people have asked you that you're going to address in the book. Anything that's going to get a little bit of excitement building about this coming new thing that you want people to be aware of for the day that it actually launches. Because remember, we're trying to get sales in a given time period so we have the greatest success, the greatest chance of one of those lists if that's your desire. Okay, social media posts, definitely important. If you're brave enough to do lives, hop on some lives, answer some questions, get excited, talk about your book, throw some confetti, get some excitement happening, and people will get excited with you and for you. All right, let's move on to the next planning piece that I think matters. Press releases. Now, this is an interesting thing that I don't see utilized all that much. So press release is really nothing more than a narrative done by somebody in a third person. So you will often see a narrative in a press release in a newspaper, or it could be done verbally on air. It could be on the radio. It could be TV. A number of different places where you can send press releases, and it's really just saying, hey, world, it's like a tweet, right? Hey, world, this is happening. Hey, world, there's this new book coming out by Clara Rose. It's called 8 Ways to Mind Your Own Business. If you're, strategies and mindset for the new entrepreneur. If you're interested, here's when it's coming out. It's being released by this person. It's just an announcement of sort in the third person saying, hey, this is happening. It's also great to include with your press release that there will be a book signing. So if someone's interested, they could show up for your book signing. We're going to talk about book signings in just a moment. So anywhere that you can send a press release to, you want to send a press release. It's just saying to the world, hey, this is coming. This author is putting out this new thing, and you're going to be interested. Public service announcement, if you will. If you're not familiar with how to write a press release, by all means have someone help you with that so that it's a quality press release. We don't want to make a first impression that's a bad impression. Okay, so let's move on. The next planning matter that I think is important is launch groups. Now, a launch group is simply a group of people who have agreed to help you launch your book. So often we're sending them excerpts from the book, or we're sending them the whole manuscript before it's been published for the for the world anyway. They might get a separate copy, but it's for them to read, and they have agreed, I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to help you promote this book. I love being part of these groups. For years, I've been a part of launch groups. It's super fun for me to get my hands on the manuscript before everybody else, and then I only participate with people that I really believe in their message, or I really believe in what they're doing in the world, or their brand, and I just want to be a part of it. And I still, to this day, recommend books that I've been a part of launch teams years ago, because I bought into the vision, I bought into their message, I drank their Kool-Aid, if you will. And it's super exciting to pull together a group of people to help you make your book launch successful in this way. So hop on your social media as you get close and say, hey, who would like to be a part of my launch group for my book? You'll be surprised at how many people will self-identify and say, hey, I want to participate. This sounds like a great book. I'm in. And then it's just a matter of coordinating and helping those people to have the best experience on the launch group, and that they'll become raving fans of you and your book before it even comes out. All right. Let's move on. The next planning matter that I think is important is writers' groups. Now, you may be able to find a writers' group locally where you live. Sometimes they're at libraries. You can check with your local library. There's lots of different places where writers' groups will meet locally. Not as much as they used to, but definitely online. If you feel like I'd rather do it on Zoom anyway, or I'd rather be in a Facebook group. There are lots of options to find a writers group online. Now, a writers group is going to do more than one thing for you. They will help cheer you on as you write your book. They're also going to help with advice as you write your book. Many of them will let you submit excerpts from your book or chapters to other people so that you can critique each other, so you can get some feedback before you actually push it out into the world. So those are great things that happen in writers groups, but also wonderful collaborations happen in writers groups. I've seen people team up to do launches together, do summits and big events around their launches together, and just support each other in really cool ways. I'm a huge advocate of a writers group, being a part of a writers group. So much so, in fact, that I have our company has two writers groups. The first writers group is the Savvy Writers, and it comes with the masterclass, the Brainstorm and Blueprint masterclass, that helps you set up your book. So if you're in the beginning stages and you haven't started your outline, definitely hop into the masterclass and go through that process of making a firm foundation for yourself. I'll talk about it briefly at the end of the show today, how you can be involved if you'd like, but it comes with a writers group that you get to be part of once you've been through the masterclass. And then, of course, our other masterclass is a part of our membership program, and that is the Savvy Authors membership program. And that is everything you ever needed to know about publishing, and we're in there every week, even every day, holding your hand, helping you make decisions, answering questions, and that writers group is a crazy successful place to find partners for launching your book. Okay. Did I mention that you need to be in a writers group? I think I might have mentioned that. Let's talk about book signings really quickly. Book signings used to be hugely popular, and then, of course, through the pandemic, they went away because we weren't meeting anymore and the bookstores were closed. I love book signings. In fact, the clip that you watched last week, if you were here, was the book signing for Teresa's book a couple of weeks ago when we launched. This is an opportunity for people to show up and actually meet the author and get their book signed. Of course, the coveted place to be is in a bookstore. If you still have a bookstore in your area, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, whatever you have locally, or even a small mom and pop shop, we have a lovely little coffee shop locally that has a bookstore attached to it. We've had a couple there. Super fun, especially if you have a local audience of followers that help support that. If you have a local church that you're a part of and super active in, those people come out and support you. Lots of different places to pull people in to support you as you do a book signing. It's a great opportunity for photographs. to use on social media. Hey, this was our book signing from last week or whatever. You can even stream live while you're at the book signing if you set that up well in advance. All good ways to get your book noticed, right? And isn't that what it really is all about, is getting your book noticed by other people? How else will you get your message out to the world? And how else will you make a difference in the world around you if you can't get your message out there? And of course, you know that I specialize in brand awareness books, so we're always talking about how can we get your book out there so we can generate leads organically for your business, ministry, cause, or brand, because that is the point of a brand awareness book. Now, this also works well for books that are not brand awareness. If you're publishing an autobiography or a children's book or whatever else you're publishing, you can certainly use a book signing. You just need to be creative about how you get people to show up, how you get people to be there, so you get the maximum exposure and value at your book signing. Okay, and then lastly, media interviews. This is one that I also don't see people utilizing nearly enough. This might be something that surprises you, but media outlets, if I could talk, are always content starved. That's a good way to put it. They're always looking for that next news story, that next thing to say, because they show up every day. They need something to say, right? So if you can say, hey, I have this new book coming out. Here's what it's about. I'd love to be on your program, or I'd love to be on your radio show. I'd love to be on your podcast to talk about it. I'd love to be wherever, and media people are always looking for that. They're always looking for somebody to feature. Otherwise, they have nothing to say. Right? We don't want them making stuff up. Right? So if you're proactive before you even launch your book, you can line up some media interviews so that it's strategic. Your book is coming out on Friday. Can you be on their show that week leading up to it coming out? Or it came out on Friday. Could you be on their show on Monday to talk about the fact that it just released a couple of days ago and how well it's doing, or how excited you are, or whatever it is? Media is your most exposure for no money, because they're not going to charge you to be on there talking about your book. So great exposure, and you can use those clips forever and ever. Right? If you're on somebody's podcast or show or whatever, those are clips that you can use forever in your future marketing efforts. Maybe your book isn't a one-time book. Maybe your book is a part of a series. This one isn't a part of the my series, Everything Matters, but I have a stack of books that are a part of it. So when a new book comes out, I can say, hey, this is a part of my existing series, Everything Matters, right? Accountability Matters, Passion Matters, all these books are part of the same series. I'd love to talk to you about my next book that's coming out, the next part of this series. And I'm always promoting what I have happening next. So these are just a few ways that you can promote in advance what you're doing and give yourself the best chance of getting on a retail or a curated list if that's what your heart desires. If not, then it's purely about the sales, and that's okay too. Okay, we are just about out of time, so I have to, because I told you I would, remind you that we have coming up the next session. Right now it's summer session that's coming up of the Brainstorm and Blueprint Master Class. Registration is now open. You can go to clararose.com/masterclass. Watch a quick little video where I tell you everything that comes with it. And then the registration page will let you sign up to be in the summer session, which is in June. If that's too soon for you, we always have one coming in fall as well. In this masterclass, we are going to capture all of those book ideas that are floating around in your head, or on little pieces of paper, or in notebooks that you've been collecting for years, however long you've been dreaming about being an author. We're going to organize those ideas into topics that are going to make sense to your reader in an order that are going to make sense for your reader as well. And then, of course, we're going to create the outline for your book. So the industry will call this a book build. I like the term blueprint. And then we'll talk about creating a strategy for the successful creation and publishing of your manuscript. Plus, I mentioned it before, we plug you into an accountability group where you get the writing done, where you don't have to do it alone, and that is the Savvy Writers Group. So there you can encourage each other. We show up every week to see how you're doing, hold your feet to the fire, make you accountable, talk about things that are making you stuck, places that you're not sure what to do about. Usually if you have a good solid brainstorm and blueprint, a good solid outline to follow, the writing part isn't difficult. What's difficult is actually getting your hiney in the seat to get the work done. At least that's what I hear from my authors. It's like, oh, life is busy and I haven't gotten to my chapter. So, excuses. That's what we do in the accountability group, is we work through and squash some of those excuses. We are all busy. We all have lives. We all have families. We all have careers. But if you're strategic about it, we can help you to be accountable by following your strategy and a writing plan to get it done. It could be 30 minutes a day. It could be an hour a day. It could be 30 minutes a week, just so that you can manage your expectations about when your book will be done. If you're only working on it 30 minutes a week, you're going to be at it for a while. But if you're sitting every week for 30 minutes and getting 500 words or 1,000 words, which sounds like a lot until you start writing, your book is going to be done in no time. Being a part of an accountability group or a writer's group is going to make a difference for you. So, if you're ready to take that next step and get your book done, I invite you to join us in the upcoming masterclass, clararose.com/masterclass, and get signed up for this next session. I'd love to see you there. Well, once again, we are out of time. Time always goes much too quickly, but thank you so much for being here every week, encouraging me to keep educating you about all the things that you need to know to truly be a savvy author. Those things that are going to help you to plan, write, format, publish, promote, or like I love to say, catapult your book out into the world where your message can truly make a difference in the world around you. As always, if you have questions, you can shoot me an email at hello@clararose.com, and I'm happy to answer questions live on the show each week. And of course, I'd like to invite you to be back next week when we have another topic that's going to help you, my friend, to be a savvy author. Alrighty, that's it for this week. Until next week, take care.